The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
I'm CJ. Good morning.
Wow, this one went off pretty good without a hitch.
I'm hoping.
We're getting pretty good at this. Okay.
Yeah, it seems to be.
Well, we have a great show here today. We've got so many things to talk about. Let's begin with the fact that today is the day that the mayor's attorney goes to court. They are going to court this afternoon at, I believe, around 2 o'clock to file all their I guess we could euphemistically call them their motions, but you know, their obstructions to the will of the people. So that's the first order of business. But you know, we're going to deviate a little bit from the recall. It seems as though the bizarre behavior that has taken over the 6th floor is now moving over to the city council. We had quite a city council meeting last night. There were fireworks and all over the place. Arguments between speakers and council people, and a little argument and little political maneuvering between councilors themselves. It was just a crazy night. If the city's in dire financial straits, we should probably sell tickets to these council meetings. Seems like this bizarre behavior is becoming catchy. CJ, what about it? You were there.
It was amazing last night, and you know, I have to say something, and I'm going to make a comment that was actually made online by several people. Do any of the city councilors in Fall River think before they open their mouth? That's the first thing. Secondly, does Fall River have the dumbest bunch of people representing the people of Fall River? And again, those were comments made online, so they're not necessarily my opinions, but I tend to agree with some of them. It gets to be very funny because, and I'm going to call her out, your friend, The Rock, got caught up in he said, she said type of deal. And, you know, if she had used a little bit of common sense, something which is lacking on the city council in general, she wouldn't even have answered the accusations. Council President Camara did try to put a squash to it to try to stop it. It kept going, and then it escalated itself, and Councilor Casey had to be called out and told enough. And it's amazing when the council president is actually calling out the city councilors to stop, because it was unbelievable, and it was an absolute mess. But you know, the person speaking had the right to say what he had to say, in that Councilor Casey was seen hugging a gentleman who has been accused of revealing the names and addresses of people who had protective orders in place, which put them in jeopardy of their health and safety. And I'm sorry, but you know, you're associating yourself with that type of person. You have to say what's going on. It's really amazing what happened, but it was fireworks galore. And you know, kudos out to Jordan Sylvia. I know you hate me saying that name, but he actually responded, for the most part, very adult and very calm, and presented himself properly, but towards the end he lost it. But hey, you know, for the most part he was pretty good.
Well, you know, when you're dealing with people who, you know, with people that are speaking in front of council, this is citizens' input. You know, sometimes they're there on emotional issues and they get a little carried away, and we have to. Unfortunately, you know, you have to live with that, and then it's up to the chairman to try to control the meeting and try to control the people. But when city councilors engage people, and then continue to engage people as they're walking away from the well, it doesn't bode well. It looks like, I felt like I was, when I used to see arguments in the Flint where I grew up, between two guys outside a bar room, everybody's jawing at each other as they're walking away, and Councilor Casey continued to berate this individual, as you said, who has a right, and obviously she has a right to it. She can answer those accusations at a different time. She was there as a city councilor, and it's standard procedure for the chairman to not allow personal attacks on councilors. They do happen, but you try to minimize them. You don't go into the, you don't begin to play into the whole thing and create, chaos in the council, and it was. There were more than one incident in the city between councilors. What really distressed me, though, is when Councilor Leo Pelletier, who was involved in a little byplay with Councilor Rigo about him not being there and voting for Maplewood Park. I guess the Maplewood Park people are never going to give up. You can say kudos to them because there's an old saying. It's not how many times you get knocked down, as long as you get up one more time than the number of times you've been knocked down. Well, I guess they're not going to take no for an answer. No matter how many times the city council votes, they're just not going to take no for an answer. So they're going to keep bringing it up. But with that, let me just get this in, CJ, because this is what really disturbs me, and it has disturbed me for a very long time. The motion to reconsider, not one city councilor or even the city clerk was sure of what a motion to reconsider is and who can make a motion to reconsider. It's ironic because half of the people in the audience, including you and I, know what a motion to reconsider is and who can make it. And no one there was sure. And the city clerk said, I'm going to have to go look it up. Well, I mean, this is a governmental body. You have rules. You don't use Roberts or Atwood. You use Cushing's, but they're all fundamentally the same. The fact is that a motion to reconsider can only be made by someone who voted on the prevailing side, which means the side that won the vote. Because obviously, if it was allowed, let's just use some simple logic here. If you allowed people in a meeting to continue to reconsider a vote that they lost, if they were on the losing side, you'd never get past that motion. Because every time it lost, there would be another motion to reconsider by someone who lost the motion. This is why the motion to reconsider can only be made by someone who voted on the prevailing or winning side of the motion. So I find that distressing because, again, it's an indication of how confused our government is.
Well, Chip, I think maybe you and I should start a collection and buy 10 copies of Cushing's Rules of Order and hand them out. But I think we need a resolution by the city council to accept a gift from somebody. So
I think it's online, CJ. It is. I think it's online if you really want it.
Oh, so. No, I know it's online, but the problem is that they don't have computers in their city council chamber. But I think what's really interesting is that even after it gets shot down yet again, Councilor Pelletier decides he is going to go directly to the diocese. I guess he's going to try to play on the presence of the new bishop and say, out of the goodness of your heart, give us 3, instead of 4, give us 3 plots of land for $175,000 because we don't have any other money available. I think you're beating a dead horse there, Councilor Pelletier. I think you're trying to either make up for the screw-ups that have happened, or you're trying to placate somebody in the Maplewood area who was once a colleague of yours, and maybe if Emerald Gordet just stepped back and let it take its course, like we've asked the mayor to do, we would have it. I don't want to hear anymore that if we don't get this land, it's going to be going forever, or we need to maintain this land. The park is there, and guess what? It's falling apart. They're not even taking care of what they got, and the people that are taking care of what's there are the baseball leagues, and they're putting in money, and they're getting nothing out of it. So I don't see it. You can't even drive the roads because they're falling apart. So it's a waste of money. But On to another great issue of the city council last night. A vote was taken for an investigation into the clear, transparent windows that we have on the 6th floor. And Kathy Ann Viveris made it very clear that she will lie, cheat, and steal to get through a city council hearing meeting with mistakes, mishaps, half-truths, and no reliable information. Because her investigation consisted of going to people and saying, did you approve it? Did you approve it? Chip, did you approve those windows? You know.
No, but they are on my tour of the 6th floor now.
Oh, there you go. So anyone who wants a tour of the 6th floor, please make sure Chip is in the building. He does a wonderful tour, by the way. People get upset, but hey. But she went to every person that she says was involved, and now, all of a sudden, ta-da, everyone said no, so the investigation's over. The city council voted 7-1 with one voting present. The one person voting against is somebody who's never voted against a mayor, so we know that Pat Casey voted against an investigation because, oh my God, we might find out something. And the great and infamous Paul De Silva voted present. Isn't that a joke that you've never seen before in your life?
Well, heaven forbid we try to find out what happened when the city spent money, when we have no money, and we're stiffing a contractor. Let's just forget about it. Everybody said no. I didn't steal the cookies. It's like, okay, investigation over. Wouldn't it be nice if you and I could just forget about every misstep we've ever made? We're held accountable. There are consequences for our actions. But no, not in the city of Fall River. Gee, you think this is one of the reasons we're in the condition we're in right now? Because nobody gives a damn about accountability and consequences? It's like, blow the Dominion suit. Big deal. Hey, no, appeal it. Blow the appeal. Don't worry about it. What are we going to do? Put some new doors and new windows in. Great. And now we have an investigation. It is absolutely appalling that two city councilors would vote against this city determining who screwed this thing up. Because you wonder why we can't account for money? You wonder why there's no money around, and everybody says there's no money, then money mysteriously appears? Maybe we could get to the root of the problem, that there's nobody accountable for anything here. And they play with your money, just as they did with the health care money. In the presentation I made yesterday on health care, I heard the treasurers at one point in time in the past year say they had $138,000 or $134,000 left in a health care account, yet the city reported $12.1 million in savings in health care from FY 12 to FY 14. So where was all that money? Was it in another account, as it has been before? We can't track anything. So heaven forbid our city councilors, our representatives, don't want to get to the bottom of this. So those two councilors, as I've said numerous times, Pat Casey does not belong on the city council. She is just you might as well just have a cardboard cutout with a button that somebody can press to say, I'm in favor of whatever the mayor proposes. I'm in favor of whatever the mayor proposes. Why bother? Let her not. She should send like a photograph of herself and they can pin it to the chair, because she's absolutely ridiculous. She doesn't belong there. This is what's wrong with Fall River, that is what we put in the city council. And as far as Paul De Silva, if he doesn't finish 25th in a field of 18 in the next election, the people in this city, it will be a disgrace. He has not done anything, said anything, and to say to vote present. Look, Paul, I know you're afraid of investigations because you're in one now. And I know you're probably not going to tell everybody why you were there in the infamous waterfront meeting. But when you're sitting in that chair, you're not under criminal investigation, although I think most of you should be. But it's about the city. You were elected to represent us. How can we have windows put into the government center And nobody knows. Nobody knows anything, how they got there. They're in the mayor's office, the law department's office, but nobody knew. The scaffolding was up for 2 months, I believe, but nobody knew there was anybody working on a city. Nobody took any time. And with that, the buzz is that Sean Kadim, who of course they're trying to blame this on because he's not there anymore. Let's blame the guy that's not there, because now he can't be reached for comment because he doesn't work for the city anymore. And if he gets blamed, well, so what? C'est la vie. He doesn't work for the city anymore. I heard he made a full statement to the Fall River Police Department about this issue. So hopefully he did. And hopefully it will come out. We'll investigate that. We just heard it. We heard about it, and we're investigating it. But let's hope we get to the bottom of this. And everybody out there who is just shaking their head at that, we have to really think that we live in an alternate universe. This is a bizarro world, and we can't allow this kind of thing to happen. And anybody that's sitting in that council chamber that voted either no or present. I'm mesmerized by the idiocy of that vote. Present. I don't even think he was present. I think he was possessed by aliens when he made that.
You know, this is just getting ridiculous. But my big concern is this, especially with our Fall River Police Department, and I have a great deal of respect for a lot of people in our Fall River Police Department. But lately, with all of these shenanigans and all the stuff going on with the mayor, I'm losing a great deal of respect. So I'm wondering if that sworn statement or that statement given by Sean Kadim is going to disappear into the mysterious File 13. I spoke at length with Washington, D.C. yesterday. I spoke directly to the U.S. Attorney General's office, and I spoke with a lead director in Washington, D.C. with the FBI. And they keep both deferring to the Boston office. I made it very clear to the associate director of the FBI yesterday that the Boston and Lakeville office don't see a problem, and they don't want to get involved in it. I spoke directly to operations for the U.S. Attorney General and said that the Massachusetts office of the District Attorney General hasn't answered anything. And we have questions here, not only of windows, of financial mismanagement, we also have a question here of elections. And, you know, what actions are being taken to defraud the Fall River people of their election rights. Under Chapter 51, Section 16, the city has said that that's how they will accept their election commissioners. The problem is that under Section 25, it says that they must be registered voters in the city of Fall River at the time of appointment. Now, the problem we have here is we know that 2 of those commissioners either have residencies or had residencies outside of Fall River, and 1 even outside of the state. So does that then invalidate the election commission, which has recused itself from all issues regarding the recall, which is probably one of the best things that could have happened. But now we got to look at the fact that we have an election coming up in November, we had a primary in September, and I made it very clear to the Secretary of State's office, if we don't have an elections commission, nothing can be certified. Therefore, the Fall River vote would need to be removed from those counts. Oh, well, you need to turn that over to your city. I said, no, this now goes into a state and federal election. So you either handle it, or I'm going to turn it over to the U.S. Attorney General to handle it. Now all of a sudden people start to scramble because wait a minute, is everybody legal? Is everybody on the same boat? And is this happening? But this is the type of stuff going on in Fall River, and people think we're idiots. And we have to say, you know, are you just a troublemaker? How many times I've heard that? And it just gets to be monotonous at times on how do we handle the aggravation that we're put through. And it just becomes very interesting. And the last thing I want to get into real quick, and I didn't want to post it on Facebook or online or anything, but yesterday there must have been a flock of chickens around my house because my property and my vehicle ended up having eggs sunny side up all over the place. So if anyone can bring over the bacon, we can have a good breakfast. And this is what we go through, Chip. This is what we go through.
Well, if you don't want any problems in your life, I believe it was Plato or Aristotle, one of the two, said many years ago, say nothing, do nothing, and be nothing. If you take a position in this world, you're going to have people who are against you, and obviously, I hope you took pictures of your vehicle, and when we go to court, we can, when we're accused of being thugs and intimidation, we'll see who did this. The fact is that none of our people have ever had anything filed against them when they were collecting signatures or doing anything for that matter. The fact is that it's happened, and it's tragic, but the fact is nobody wants any part of it. This is one of the most frustrating things. If anybody asks me when this is all over, what's the most frustrating thing about this whole procedure? It's not the procedure itself. It's the fact that it's become abundantly clear that the reason that this country, not only this city, is so screwed up, that government has created and insulated itself so well that it's virtually impossible to change it. Just look at what just a bunch of people in Fall River, a relatively small city, that's exercising a very, very simple statute that says when people are not happy with somebody, they can recall them. Just look at what we're going through. Look at the political hoops. Look at the intimidation. Look at the fact that the mayor can tie this up forever, and he has limitless resources and money. It's really, really, really frustrating because the fact is that this nation was created for people who were being persecuted and didn't have any influence on their government. And when they wrote our Constitution and our Declaration of Independence, they made it clear that when government doesn't work, it was the people's not only right, but obligation to change that government. But they've made it virtually impossible, just as it is virtually impossible to run for any office of significance without having millions of dollars in your war chest. They've basically cut out the average person in this country, and it's extremely frustrating. We're going, as I said earlier in the show, we're going to court this afternoon. The mayor's battery of lawyers is filing all their motions. They want to throw this process out, and they're going to, we're going to start this process in earnest on the legal front, and hopefully we can get through this and get to an election, and at least if we have an election, we can say the people have been able to speak. But is it frustrating? Yeah. Is it? Are they're getting really upset now because obviously what's going on in the city has now spilled over from the 6th floor into the council chambers, and now they're getting upset because they know the time is coming closer and closer. The clock is ticking, and the people may be able to speak, so they're going to take it out on everybody who worked so hard to allow the people to have a voice, rather than just say, as the mayor continues to say, I want the process, I believe in the process, I want to have an election. That's bullshit, okay? All right, that's absolute, okay? And if you think we believe you, think again. And Mark Monroe's, Dion's article, and as I've said before, people, Mark writes articles I like and dislike. We talked about that on the show. But I think that the piece he wrote on the mayor and his ability to lead and who to ask was one of the best, most well thought out pieces I ever saw. It wasn't an opinion, it was the truth. I think his piece was very, very well done, and it kind of encapsulated, what's gone on in this city and what we have for a leader.
Well, Chip, I think it's interesting because if you've been following along, the mayor has numerous court cases going on. and one included one with his cousin, John Creedon, which was dismissed by the mayor. The mayor refused to prosecute him. Either the claim had no founding, which Mr. Creedon, states there was no, basis for the complaint, or the mayor was afraid to take the stand again, which Mr. Creedon contends. So you have to look at this and what's going on, that our mayor is involved in all these investigations. And on the same note, as we know, a special investigator was appointed to handle the criminal investigations into the mayor. Well, according to the comments from the special investigator, nothing has happened. He cannot make any comments on a pending investigation, but nothing has happened. So again, we're looking at the fact that, hey, he's the mayor. As long as he's in office, I'm not going to do anything. I mean, that's the opinion I'm getting. And everyone speaks very highly of this gentleman, but I have to question what's going on. We have all kinds of mayhem and stuff going on in the city. We have people being pulled over for doing crimes that they're not doing. And how far deep does this, and I'm going to use this term very, very loosely, does this corruption go that the mayor, and according to my sources in Providence, has said the nickname he has is Willie Guns, has. So you have to ask yourself, what is going on in Fall River? And more specifically, because it's not Fall River, I swear there's an X on the 6th floor of Government Center. And I think that is becoming more and more prevalent for everyone to understand, and I think that we need to realize that.
Yeah, I think you're right. It was a long time ago that I went before the council and used the phrase "a tale of two cities." And we do have two cities here. We have the city they see and the city we see. But I think it's becoming very distressful when I hear that people are not getting the same treatment under the law. That is extremely, extremely upsetting to me. Jordan Sylvia said yesterday that he filed something about his lug nuts, and the police can perceive that as vandalism, and they didn't want to come to his house. Yet Pat Casey had 4 detectives there when she filed a complaint about somebody doing something on Facebook, which is not an imminent threat. Now, obviously, I'm not a police officer. I respect those guys. I worked with them for years. I think they do a great job. They've got a very difficult job. But the fact is that, be that as it may, Jordan Sylvia is someone who is in the news. He is someone who is being, held up as one of the people in the recall. And granted, I think under normal circumstances, you could consider loose lug nuts maybe vandalism. But when it happens to someone who was involved and has the other issues that he has and CJ has and I do, and people who are involved in a recall, I think you have to look at that in a different light. If you can send 4 detectives down to Pat Casey when she's being threatened on Facebook, like her computer's going to eat her or something, and you consider that an imminent threat, yet you don't think that someone who is in the news and has his lug nuts removed or loosened, that isn't a threat. I think there should have been a little bit more done on it. And with that, I will say that, I believe that everyone, including Pat Casey, requires equal protection under the law. But I haven't seen a lot of that through this whole process.
I know, Chip. It's amazing how fast a half hour goes. We're at the end of our show, and we're going to keep digging and digging until we find it. So thanks for watching. This is Spindle City Straight Talk, and Chip, I'll leave the last words to you.
Well, let's all keep our fingers crossed that on December 16th, the day of the beginning of the Battle of the Bulge in the Second World War, that a new battle begins, the battle for the mayoral seat of Fall River. Don't forget, December 16th, get out there and vote.